My name is Victoria Montero, and it is my great honor to welcome you to the University of Chicago's inaugural Class Day. We are proud to be gathered here together for the beginning of a new tradition where the administration nervously hands over the reins to students for us to lead a celebration for our incredible class. As members of the Maroon Key Society, the honorary society of the college, we are thrilled to help plan and lead this ceremony. To my fellow classmates, today is all about you. We are here to reflect on the memories that we've made together and the home that we've shared for the past 4 years. We will celebrate the outstanding accomplishments of our peers, hear from students and the dean and renowned alumni, and take one last moment to recognize the unity that binds us together as a class before we graduate tomorrow.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jake Mansour. I'm a member of the Maroon Key Society, and my college house no longer exists. Thanks, Victoria, and welcome again to Class Day, everybody. A few of our students have made a video tribute exploring how the challenges we faced in the college have forced us or enabled us to forge distinct identities, as well as an identity that we all share. 4 years ago, when I arrived here on campus, I didn't realize how much of a stranger to myself I was. On day one, I was very confident in what I knew, what I believed, and how I saw myself and others, academically, socially, and even politically. Academically, I was convinced I was a great writer. But then Hume, Soch, and Jake Biddle said, not yet. Socially and existentially, I thought I was set as a person. And then I took Civ and discovered Boys Town. Politically, I went from attending college Republicans meetings at the IOP, which has yet to be shut down, to protests in front of Trump Tower. And after reading his latest articles, I know there's at least one other alum here who can empathize with that trajectory. Am I right or am I right, Mr. Brooks? So the classes, the city, and the people here truly shook us to our core, but are now a set of experiences we all share. That was just a core pun. Thanks to the college for taking us a very long way, for showing us that we're always learning, and for prompting us to continue asking ourselves the question, no matter how old we are, who do I want to be when I grow up? Thanks to Keegan, Stacy, and Elizabeth for this tribute, helping us explore these changes in shared identities. And welcome again, Mr. Brooks, Dean Boyer, students and families. And without further ado, I give you 4 years in review.
I love the housing system. I think it's this really cool opportunity to build community, and I love that it's, you know, everyone is thrown together, all years and all majors. I like housing so much I went on to work for them for 2 years, right? But it's just really, I am very shy, and so being sort of forced out of my comfort zone and thrown into this collection of people who are not there for any rhyme or reason. You're just all together and you sort of have to build this community together, I think is a really, really cool process. And so I wanted to be able to create a community that was compassionate in that same way. And I hope I did that. The theme that always came up is like, the school is hard, like really hard. But when it gets hard, sort of all the stories I was thinking about, the one common thread is that there's always a community of people I can fall back on who I know will be there for me and who are going through the same things. So whether that was my old house, Talbot, now Boyer, which was just a wonderful place for me to spend my first 2 years, or now Crown House where I'm the RA. It's been incredible. Even I have some of my residents who will come up to me when I'm having a hard day and be like, Liz, do you need to talk? Which is awesome because it's a total like role reversal, but it just shows how strong the community is here and how much people really care, which means a lot. So I majored in comparative human development, which was really great for me because it's such an incredibly flexible major. It felt like I could design my own major, which was really nice. I ended up working a lot with sort of early childhood development. I worked in Dr. Amanda Woodward's lab for 3 years and ended up writing my thesis there too. I finished human development at the end of my 3rd year and was sort of like, well, here I am. I want to be an RA for another year, but I don't want to just take 12 electives. So I ended up applying for SSA's dual enrollment program. So I got in, which was awesome. And so I've spent the last 9 months working towards my master's in social work at one of the professional schools here. So I'll be sticking around campus for another year to finish that up.
I ran cross country and track in high school for 4 years, and coming to UChicago, I didn't know that I was going to be on a varsity athletics team, but when I found out that we had D3 athletics and looked into the program and talked with the coach, I realized that it would be a good fit for me. And so from day one of O Week, I've been a member of the team. During O Week, we had a workout. And I remember coming from high school track and cross country, it was a bit of an adjustment to come to UChicago and to start really competing at a high level. And so I was exhausted at the end of the workout. I was so tired. I felt so uncomfortable. I wasn't sure if I was even going to be able to stay on the team after that. And so we started running through the midway, and we get to the quad, and suddenly I have no idea what's going on because I'm just a freshman, but all the other members of the team, like it was the summers, like our shirts are off, and they start running through the quad and yelling. And I literally had no idea. No one explained to me what was going on. And so there's a rhyme, there's a song that we sing, and as we run through the quad, we sing this song, and members of the team volunteer to say rhymes that go into the chorus of the song. And so no one taught me what to do, but I sort of learned like through that quads run and then on later quads runs. It's just sort of like a strange UChicago tradition. My first year, I think especially during O Week, I made a lot of decisions that would impact the rest of my 4 years in terms of joining clubs and RSOs. And at that time, I was sort of confused. I didn't understand why I was joining. So I joined a competitive Indian dance team. I was involved in my house. I was on the cross country team. But looking back, I'm kind of happy I did that because I was able to meet so many different people on campus. Some of the most memorable experiences and I think most valuable experiences that I've had have actually not been in class and have been while working either a few blocks south of the university or 5 blocks north. So for 2 years, I worked at Willie Cochran's office, the alderman of the 20th Ward. Recently, I've started working at Shoesmith Elementary School, which is at 50th and Kimbark. And I'm tutoring 3rd and 4th graders there. One of the things I'm going to miss most after leaving the university is the team, just because it's been sort of like my second family for the last 4 years. And moving to a new place, I know that I'm just not going to have that group of guys to run with every single day. So that's sort of a strange feeling because it's just been constant every single day for the last 4 years. I'm definitely going to miss running along the lakefront, especially going north when you come around a turn, sometimes at Promontory Point or maybe towards the 35th Street Bridge, and you see the entire skyline right there. That's one of the coolest. That's like one of the coolest places where we run. I'm really going to miss that.
There's also just something really cool about sort of being out here. Like, you can see the skyline, but you're also right next to the water, and I think it just gives you a bigger perspective on life because it's really hard to you get caught up on all your work and sometimes sort of lose sight of like the bigger picture. But when you sort of look out and you can't see land on the other side of the water, you just sort of get a bigger sense of things, and it's really great. I'd have like house barbecues out here with my house first year, bonfires at the point with the Outdoor Adventure Club, coming here to see the sunrise or the sunset with friends, Kuvia in the dead of winter when everything is covered in ice. It's pretty all year round, and it's cool because the lake is always different every day. Probably my favorite experience like at UChicago, or like opportunity I got to have, was doing a field course in ancient modern coral reef environments in San Salvador in the Bahamas. So we went out over spring break and went snorkeling and sort of exploring this island. It was really cool. I walked onto the soccer team my first year, but then switched to playing ultimate frisbee, and that's been a huge part of my experience at UChicago. It's a really fantastic team atmosphere, and I've made some of my best friends there. And we've actually, like, the program has grown a lot in the years I've been here. We got 5th at regionals 2 years ago, and we got 3rd this year, and we're like in the game to go to nationals. And it was so cool to like play with my best friends in like the game to go. And we ended up getting 3rd, but I'm still so proud of that experience. So I did come to UChicago for the core and the really fantastic research. But I really enjoyed some of my core classes. I am a math and bio major, but one of my alter egos is 100% submerged in anthropology and art, which I got to experience through the core curriculum. The lesson is you can have a lot of fun in your core courses in UChicago.
Now that is just a glimpse of the diversity engagement that characterizes our class. My name is Elizabeth Wu, and I studied economics and biology in the college and lived in Tufts House before serving as the RA for Stony Island. And as part of the graduating class, I can only stand and admire at the talent, passion, and creativity of my peers. And so, I'm incredibly excited to introduce our next 3 speakers who will share what their 4 years here have meant to them. Our first speaker will be Adolfo Alexander Vincent Alex Morales. Alex is a theater performance studies and psychology double major. He hails from Mooresville, North Carolina, and as a theater performance studies major, Alex has been active in university theater and has curated Theater 24, where teams of student writers, directors, designers, and actors have 24 hours to create a stage experience. At the same time, Alex has been active in house life, participating in intramural sports and serving in a SCAV leadership position. Please welcome to the podium, Alex.
It's a packed house. When I first heard that the university was getting graduated, I couldn't believe it. I was really touched when the University of Chicago asked me to be its best man, and then I realized I had to write the best man speech. And I mean, yeah, we've been best friends forever, or at least since we went to school together. But, you know, speeches are very difficult, and I don't think I could just get away with making fun of the university for still being in its Gothic phase, or how it pronounces trimesters, quarters. But actually, I'm really glad that the university could find someone like all of you. I mean, taken holistically, you are everything the university could want. And, you know, most people meet online these days, so there's no shame in using Tinder or any other common app. And here you are. Smart, intrepid, curious. You know where Waldo is. You've known each other for years now, and it's obvious that you guys have something special. It's no secret that the university has been graduated before, and we all thought that the 529th time would be the last, but I am confident this will be the last graduation for the University of Chicago. It's great that he finally found that special 1,000 people. I remember the first time I met the university, and its soon-to-be graduates. They showed me how deep their empathy really ran. Allow me to set the scene. It was during the polar vortex. During Siberia. During what I can only assume was due to the death of Aslan the lion. It was so cold that the fire alarm went off in my dorm. Yeah, they work both ways. It was 6 in the morning on the first day of winter quarter. We all dressed, slowly, groggily, we went outside. One of the people in my house thought that there actually was a fire, and they ran outside in just their robe. It was negative 40 degrees. Immediately, instinctively and without thinking, everyone in my house surged around them like penguins might to make sure that they would be okay in the cold. That's when I knew that the university was head over ivy for these people, who all chose to go to school here in this frozen hellscape. I often wonder what sort of person came to the literal swamp that is Chicago and said, "Ah, yes, here's where I will found my city." I often wonder what sort of students came to this aforementioned frozen hellscape and said, "Ah, yes, here is where I will go to school." I have since realized that it is the type of person who will huddle around someone when they aren't dressed for the cold. This type of person would come to a cold, gothic place to learn about what they care about, because they all have that same fierce fire of determination, caring, and curiosity burning inside of them. And when nothing else, and I mean quite literally nothing else, will keep you warm because it is colder at school than it is on the planet Mars, that fire will burn inside of you and keep you warm. As you go forth after this graduation, take this chance to play Prometheus. Bring that fire with you to everyone and everything you encounter. Shield others from the cold. Keep your curiosity. Keep your determination. Keep a tab on that Waldo character. Everything after this is easy and hopefully warmer. So, I would like to propose a toast to the University of Chicago and its soon-to-be graduates. May this be only the start of your many years of happiness. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Our second speaker today is Karen Payton. Karen is an English language and literature major, and she calls Chandler, Arizona home. On campus, Karen has been involved with the Chicago Maroon, our school newspaper, as a staff photographer. She is also a documentary filmmaker and a producer for Firescape Films. When she is not busy making films or taking pictures, Karen is also involved in her house, Went House, as a social chair. Please welcome to the podium, Karen.
Hi. Let me start out with a confession. I am a fifth year. You weren't expecting that. She doesn't even go here. I know. Yes, I am that unicorn. And I'm an Odyssey scholar, so I have the wrong class t-shirt, and I have too many loans to pay for the right one. Let's review, shall we? First year. You're not that bright. You play broomball. You use a lot of synonyms in your essays, but you realize there is no synonym for bad argument. Second year. You're hoping you learn the material by osmosis. You've found 5 different majors to pack yourself into. You ask someone out who speaks 3 languages, and in all 3 of them, they say no. 3rd year, your living situation deteriorates, your toilet explodes, your upstairs neighbor is a good tap dancer. Your method of selling yourself for internships is, if you give me this opportunity, you'll give me this opportunity. Most pre-meds are no longer. 4th year. I forgot core bio. Oops. For the past 4+ years, we've been measuring ourselves against failing systems and lucky moments. We asked ourselves, do you like who you've become? And the answer was often no. You know, no one wants to hear a graduation speech about dark matter unless it's related to physics. But I can't stand here and being grateful, without acknowledging that gratitude is the result of pain and failure. That pain is now humility. And that failure has become a habit of maintaining a steady diet of truth. Many of us came here excited and leave here angry. Many of us struggled with our mental health. Many of us were punished for it. Some of us are better for it. Some of us lost things or found things, met people who changed us, partied hard or didn't, lost people, lost hope here. I know I did. Like many students, I'm a 5th year because I went on leave. Why? Because I thought about ending my life here. And I came close twice. I stand here 2 years after one of the worst years of my life to acknowledge that most of college is rarely having anything turn out as you expected. And the things that do work out are often the result of luck and privilege. And acknowledging that uncomfortable truth is eye-opening, really. We have learned so much from the darker parts. For years, I couldn't think critically except about myself. But the depths of that sadness opened me up. The days ahead won't be harder for us. We've already been in the real world. It isn't hard, it's just a new challenge. But we are resilient. And our curiosity is real. I stand here like everybody, a bit damaged, but ready in my unreadiness and prepared to fail again. And what a wonderful feeling it is to know that you received one of the best educations in the world that showed you that you are not the best, that you are of the world. Realizing that a good education makes you question the institution you received it from. How it has taken your passions and matured them. How it can restore your vision in a time of darkness. Graduation not only marks a moment of change, it marks a moment that you have changed. And I do firmly believe with everything in me that that is the aim of education. And remember to give back if you're working at Goldman Sachs. We don't have to choose between comfort and social change because we have the privilege to do both. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Our final speaker will be Elizabeth Liz Moinalua Adetiba. Liz is a political science major with a minor in human rights. She calls Arlington, Texas home and has been involved in various activities on campus ranging from, but not limited to, serving as a former political chair of the Organization of Black Students, former OMSA Student Advisory Board member, campus director of Dream Outside the Box, UChicago, and contributing writer for the Black Youth Project. Liz was also named a Fulbright Scholar this year. Please welcome to the podium, Liz.
The late, widely acclaimed recording artist Prince kicked off many of his concerts with the following phrase: "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life." Well, borrowing from the elusive pop icon, dearly beloved, we are all gathered here today to celebrate getting through this thing called UChicago. I could get into the late nights and early mornings in the reg, brutal winter winds, and the ever-daunting course bidding system, but I won't. After all, we're here to celebrate. And despite those challenging experiences, each of us has myriad reasons to be proud today. Some widely shared with our classmates, some particular to our own personal struggles. During occasions such as this one, it is common for the speaker to encourage the graduates and all who are here to support them to aim high and never stop believing in themselves. But I won't do that. After all, if you're here today, you know how to carpe that diem. So I won't stand here and tell you what to do or how to do it. Rather, I will remind you of who you should be doing this for. As tempting as it may be to make these graduation festivities all about us and the time, love, and dollars poured into getting us here today, our celebration is bigger than us. It is about all of the people who will never meet us and yet be impacted by the things we do and say. A degree from the University of Chicago will undoubtedly open many doors. But the real task is figuring out how we can use this degree to open doors for as many other people as possible. I'll tell you a quick story about an experience on campus that captures my time here so well. Like many of you, I spent much of my fourth year working on my BA thesis. I truly believe the work I was doing was revolutionary and trailblazing. That was until the week before it was due, I casually ran across an article in a law journal that was, in essence, my entire thesis. In retrospect, I was naive to have assumed what I was doing had never been done before. After all, there is no such thing as new knowledge. But it was then that a professor reminded me that the importance of doing this work wasn't simply for the sake of my own learning, but instead to amplify the voices of those who have been marginalized. To whom much is given, like this all-consuming, taxing, yet highly rewarding degree, much is required. And on this campus, in this city, in this country, in this world, there is serious work to be done. Who better to do this work than a group of people who are committed to more than remaining on the surface, who understand that rigorous inquiry requires leaving no stone unturned and no worldview deconstructed. Those of us here today were so very fortunate to get through this thing called UChicago. So let's get out there into the newsrooms, the labs, the boardrooms, the classrooms, and communities to do whatever is necessary to help as many others as possible get through this thing called life. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alexa Hanlon, and I split my time in Chicago between the glorious Regenstein Library and the softball field a couple blocks away. Today, on behalf of the Maroon Key Society, I have the pleasure of representing UChicago Athletics and introducing two of the highest athletic honors. But first, before jumping into the awards, I'd like to take a moment and highlight our senior athletes. Graduating with us this weekend sit 91 varsity athletes, 91 students who juggle the academic rigor of UChicago while representing the Maroons in their competitive arenas. 91 students who exemplified the student and student athlete. But even with this dual role and responsibility, the 2017 Maroon class still dominated. In our graduating class sit 2 national champions and 31 All-Americans. Collectively, we've trained, practiced, and competed for over 35,000 hours over the past 4 years. And we have much to show for it. Because during our time here, our varsity teams nationally qualified for postseason play 27 times. Academically, our classes received 254 UAA all-academic distinctions. And most importantly, our football team is still undefeated against Notre Dame. So, to the 91 student athletes retiring their jerseys and graduating this weekend, thank you for wearing maroon with pride and representing UChicago with strength. And now to our 2 athletic honors, the Stag and Dudley Awards. The athletic awards presented today honor 2 fourth-year athletes who have exceeded on the playing field and in the classroom. Both the Amos Alonzo Stag Award, presented to a senior male athlete, and the Gertrude Dudley Award, presented to a senior female athlete, honor outstanding leaders in the athletic community. Factoring in strong all-around academic records, scholarship, and character. I now welcome Coach Chris Hall to the stage to present the awards.
First of all, what a great day. This is my 16th year at Chicago, and I'm not ready to move on yet. So I've been through some of the other graduations here. I think it's neat what's going on with this year's graduation and the class day. And I really want to thank the university for giving us an opportunity to recognize these student athletes here as well. I do a little bit better speaking from the heart than I do reading, but I was given a script, and so I'm going to go through that. But I do want to mention that I find these 2 individuals to be Chicago students. I mean, first and foremost, I mean, since they first arrived on this campus, they've truly engaged in what it is to be a University of Chicago student. They've had an opportunity, though, to do some other things as athletes and really succeed at the highest level, and I want to just go through those real quickly. I'm going to start with Andrew Manival. Andrew Manival is a winner of our Stag Medal. And the Stag Medal is given every year to the four-year athlete that has succeeded at the highest level of his senior class. The award is named after legendary former football coach Amos Alonzo Stagg. For those of you that are not familiar with Amos Alonzo Stagg, he's the first person to put numbers on the back of the uniforms. He's the first person to have a huddle. Great things have happened here way back in the early 1900s with him. Andrew was a standout player both in football and in track and field. On the gridiron, Manival was a 3-year starter and 4-year letter winner as offensive tackle. As a left tackle his senior year, he blocked for one of the best offenses in school history. The 2016 Maroons set 21 school records, including passing yards, passing touchdowns, pass completions, and total offense. He protected the blind side for quarterback Burt Moser, who finished second in the nation in passing yards with more than 3,700 yards. Manival also created holes for running back Chandler Carroll to surpass 1,000 yards for a second straight season. Manival's football excellence was rewarded with All-University Athletic Association status 3 times and All-Southern Athletic Association honors twice. Andrew's strength between the lines was also utilized in the winter and spring during the indoor and outdoor track and field seasons. Andrew was the team's top thrower in various events, including shot put, discus, weight throw, and hammer throw. He ranks among the school all-time top 5 leaders in each of those disciplines. Manival was named the UAA Outdoor Men's Most Outstanding Field Performer in both the 2016 and 2017 seasons. He was a 3-time UA champion, twice in the outdoor shot put, and once in the outdoor discus. All told, Andrew racked up 7 All-UA honors in field events. His hard work in the classroom was also rewarded with inclusion in the UAA All-Academic Team twice. His football coach, Chris Wilkerson, was not able to make it here tonight because of recruiting, but he did pass along some comments he wanted us to share. He said, Andrew was a great leader and inspiration for his teammates. His team first mindset has helped build a culture setting high standards with an emphasis on hard work and persistence in pursuing goals. He is simply one of the most focused individuals I have ever had the opportunity to coach. Myself, I'd like to say that Andrew has always proven himself to be a team-first person. I think he's always put the good of our squad in front of his personal accomplishments, and he's been quick to mentor the younger athletes in our program. I'd like to congratulate Andrew on this honor and present him with the Stag Medal. Our next award winner is Michelle Dobbs. Michelle Dobbs, winning the Dudley Medal. I should mention quickly where this comes from. This is named in honor of former Director of Athletics. Let me correct that. Named in former Director of Physical Culture, Gertrude Dudley. The Dudley Medal has been presented annually since 1977 to the outstanding senior athlete for leadership and skill in women's athletics. Michelle distinguished herself in track and field, cross country, and is a senior also in women's basketball. She goes down as one of the best runners in the history of the University of Chicago. Her crowning achievement came at the 2016 Indoor NCAA Championships, where she won the national championship in the 800-meter run. This marked the 17th national championship in school history and the 9th by our track and field program. On the track, Dobbs excelled on the national stage, totaling 8 All-American performances in her career. She owns 7 school records between the indoor and outdoor seasons, with 3 in individual events and 4 in the relay events. At the conference level, Dobbs was a consistent winner with 10 UA championships to her credit. Michelle's athletic prowess extended beyond the indoor and outdoor track seasons. Every autumn, Michelle joined us to run the 6,000-meter distance in cross country. Our teams each year she was here placed in the top 25 in the country. As a senior, Michelle made it a return to the hardwood and earned a spot on the varsity women's basketball team. She worked herself into the rotation in the second half of the season and was a valuable bench contributor for a Maroon squad that reached the second round of the NCAA tournament. Michelle's accomplishments on the academic level were also recognized throughout her career. She was picked as a COSIDA second-team All-American in 2016 and was twice named COSIDA Academic All-District. Michelle earns a spot on the UAA All-Academic team 3 times as well, and in the sport of track and field, she was named as an Academic All-American on 7 occasions. Michelle has been superbly consistent since her arrival at Chicago. She carries a level of confidence into competition that resonates throughout the rest of our team. She is a leader and a remarkable teammate. Without exception, Michelle has put the good of the team as her #1 priority, and it is truly an honor to congratulate Michelle and to present her with the Dudley Award.
Good afternoon. My name is Camille Kaur, and I studied chemistry and biological chemistry. I lived in Kenwood House before serving as an RA for UN House.
And my name is Jonathan Acevedo. I studied law, letters, and society, computer science, and human rights. I lived in Midway House, which I'm told, like many other things on campus this year, was renamed after Byron Tribe. It is our honor to introduce John W. Boyer, UChicago AM 68 and PhD 75, the Martin A. Ryerson Distinguished Service Professor in History and longstanding Dean of the College. Recently reappointed to an unprecedented 6th term as Dean, he continues a 25-year tenure in the college with immense dedication to the student body and the spirit of intellectual inquiry. Few of you may know this, and he certainly doesn't like to mention it, but the Dean recently published The University of Chicago, A History in the fall of 2015. Available for purchase at the University Bookstore on 58th and Ellis. You can pick one up before graduation. It's not a test, but it's a strong recommendation. The book's cover begins with a powerful line. One of the most influential institutions of higher learning in the world, the University of Chicago has a powerful and distinct identity, and its name is synonymous with intellectual inquiry. Just as the institution he holds so close to heart, Dean Boyer's name is likewise synonymous with intellectual inquiry. From emboldening the core to expanding opportunities for foreign studies, Dean Boyer has an unparalleled commitment to enriching the student body, its ability to live the life of the mind.
But his dedication to the university spans well beyond academics. A university icon with a face as recognizable as the neo-Gothic landscape, Dean Boyer is frequently spotted zooming through Hyde Park on his bicycle. Dean Boyer has gone out of his way to interact with students whenever possible. Donning a fake mustache on Dean Boyer Appreciation Day in 2013, prancercising in front of Harper Memorial Library for SCAV 2014, and delighting students with a careful retelling of the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria, Boyer's commitment to students is as well documented as the meticulous research he conducts. In Dean Boyer's own words, the job of a dean is not to modulate discontent, but to make it add up to something productive, transformational, and forward-looking. Thank you, Dean Boyer, for helping us make our 4 years productive, transformational, and forward-looking. Today, we honor your incredible contributions to our class's 4-year experience with a slideshow of some highlights from our time together with you on campus.
Please join me in welcoming to the stage, to the podium, Dean John Boyer, who will present the Llewellyn John and Harriet Manchester Quantrell Awards for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching.
Good afternoon. Nearly 80 years ago, the first teaching awards in the history of the University of Chicago were presented. In May 1937, Ernest Quantrell, who at that time was a member of the Board of Trustees, wrote to President Robert Maynard Hutchins offering an endowed fund of $75,000 to provide for several teaching awards. For Quantrell, quote, "The purpose of the award is to interest teachers in training not only scholars and research workers, but also young men and women for intelligent and public-spirited participation and leadership in business and civic and professional life." He continued, "I hope the award will result in constantly improving our faculty who teach undergraduates," unquote. The awards were to be based on nominations by our students for faculty members who had done particularly effective and inspiring work in collegiate education at the university. Ernest Quantrell was an alum of the university, having entered the college as a freshman in 1901, where he encountered, as he later put it, quote, "one of the greatest faculties in the history of American higher education," unquote. He left the university in 1905, gained employment in a bond department of a local bank, and then this proved to be a fruitful career for him. He eventually founded his own investment company in New York in 1928. From 1938 to 1952, the awards were given anonymously, but in the latter year, Ernest Quantrell agreed to the public disclosure of his name as the patron of these awards. Although Ernest Quantrell created the teaching awards, they bear the name of his father and his mother. Since 1954, their official title has thus been the Llewellyn John and Harriet Manchester Quantrell Award for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching. Until his death in 1962 at the age of 81, Mr. Quantrell followed the Quantrell Awards ceremony at the annual Honors Assembly, much like we're doing today, each year with considerable pride and delight. And the ability of the university and our students with recurring and reassuring regularity to be able to generate still more truly worthy candidates for his prizes seemed to please him greatly. And we know now, as the history of the Hutchins era at the university, that is to say the years between 1929 and 1951, as that history has unfolded, we know how important these prizes were for the University of Chicago. For Ernest Quantrell was one of those alumni, and there were many at the time, in the later 1930s, who was very skeptical of some of the innovations that Robert Hutchins was undertaking, and which seemed to them to posit in their minds that academic learning was the exclusive goal of the college, to the detriment of other skills and experiences that would also be valuable to young men and young women in the course of their adult lives. I think they were wrong about that, but that's what they were worried about. But Quantrell was also an alumni leader who was enlightened enough to take a chance on new ideas and who understood that universities must be dynamic instruments of change. And he believed strongly that it was possible for the university to be both intensely academic and supportive of the lives of our students in and beyond the classroom, and that it should also be profoundly devoted to changing and improving the conditions of our nation. Hence the hybridic quality of his commendation, the commendation that he gave to Robert Hutchins that I just read to you. He wanted to honor teachers who were great scholars and who produced skilled students, but also to honor teachers who in their own persons would offer, to use a rather old-fashioned word, virtuous ideals and virtuous role models, and who would inspire our students to be more enlightened and more effective leaders of their communities and of our nation. And the distinctive intellectual strength of our students, but also their strong and impressive professional success over the last half-century, are perhaps the best and most satisfying signs that both of Quantrell's hopes have indeed been fulfilled. Since 1938, almost 300 Chicago faculty members have received Quantrell Awards, and the awards have become, and they continue to be, one of the very highest honors that the University of Chicago can bestow on any member of our faculty. One of my distinguished predecessors, Dean Alan Simpson, aptly said of our prizes that, quote, "the Quantrell Awards are probably the oldest awards of their kind in the country. They have upheld the prestige of teaching during a period when much has conspired to divert the energies and the rewards of faculty members into other fields. Mr. Quantrell left a very noble memorial behind him, unquote. On behalf of the University of Chicago, I'm now pleased to present the winners of the 2017 Llewellyn John and Harriet Manchester Quantrell Awards for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching.
Leonor Cetina, Otto Borchert, Distinguished Service Professor, Department of Sociology, Department of Anthropology, Committee on Conceptual and Historical Studies of Science, and the College, Chair, Department of Sociology, will present the first Llewellyn John and Harriet Manchester Quantrell Award for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching.
Andrew Abbott is a leading sociologist in the United States and worldwide, a social theorist, a sociologist of knowledge and the professions, and a methodologist fascinated by actual research materials and research practice. He is also a very active and admired teacher who combines a passion for knowledge for its own sake and a keen interest in turning students into professionals, while at the same time challenging taken for granted traditional points of view. Professor Abbott has mastered the art of shaking his students out of their old familiar modes of thought, one student reports. Whether the topic is a text that you've already read dozens of times, or a research question you've been pondering for 2 years, you inevitably leave discussions with Professor Andy Abbott with a new perspective or even an entirely new way of seeing. Another student comments that Abbott's teaching style bears a striking resemblance to a vinyl record. It holds a certain iconic cultural weight. You are instantly drawn into its warm timbre. There's always the eager anticipation of something surprising coming on the other side, and the young people think that is all the rage. They've been offering a desperately needed crash course outlining pragmatic steps and courses that turn phenomena in the social world into mystifying puzzles. Abbott has been an inspiring teacher who motivates students to think deeper and harder about social processes. Dean Boyer, it is my honor to present Andrew Abbott for the Llewellyn John and Harriet Manchester Quantrell Award for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching.
Social theorist, sociologist of knowledge and the professions, and social methodologist Andrew Abbott communicates to his students a genuine love for scholarship and a sense of the possible solutions that methodological know-how and a global repertoire of social thought can bring to the chaotic processes of social life. Andrew Abbott, on behalf of the University of Chicago, I now confer upon you the Llewellyn John and Harriet Manchester Quantrell Award for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching.
Gabriel Lear, Professor, Department of Philosophy, John U. Neff, Community on Social Thought, and the College will present the next Quantrell Award.
Agnes Callard is a philosopher who writes and thinks about the distinctively human project of trying to become better people than we are. Her work engages debates, both contemporary and ancient, concerning the interplay between our emotions and rationality. She is herself a graduate of the college and credits the humanities core curriculum with changing the course of her life. Whether teaching the writings of Plato and Aristotle or the work of more recent thinkers, she is evidently committed to passing on the transformative experience of philosophy to her students. Routinely, students call her, quote, a brilliant lecturer with an unparalleled enthusiasm and passion, and they praise her ability to turn a large lecture course into a genuine conversation. One student says, quote, "Her technique of expositing, criticizing, and then defending Plato's arguments is brilliant and taught me more about Plato than I imagined there was to learn." Dean Boyer, it is my honor to present Agnes Callard for the Llewellyn John and Harriet Manchester Quantrell Award for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching.
Philosopher and scholar of ethics and ancient Greek philosophy, Agnes Callard challenges her students to engage with the arguments of the great thinkers of the past and to develop their capacity for rational reflection as they consider who they are and who they aspire to become. Agnes Callard, on behalf of the University of Chicago, I now confer upon you the Llewellyn John and Harriet Manchester Quantrell Award for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching.
Everett E. Folks, John E. Altman, Professor, Department of Medicine, Department of Radiation and Cellular Oncology, and the Comprehensive Cancer Center, Chair, Department of Medicine, and Physician-in-Chief, the University of Chicago Medicine, will present the next Quantrell Award.
Bana Jabri is a world leader in the study of celiac disease and mucosal immunology and has made seminal discoveries relating to the mechanisms underlying the development of complex inflammatory disorders such as inflammatory bowel disease and type 1 diabetes. Her teaching credentials are exceptional, reflecting her deep commitment to excellence in education. She's a superb lecturer to undergraduate and graduate students and has been singled out as the instructor and mentor who has been the most influential during the course of their education. Many of her students have gone on to further their education in science or to academic careers. She is an extraordinary leader who is greatly deserving of this award. Dean Boyer, it is my honor to present Bana Jabri for the Llewellyn John and Harriet Manchester Quantrell Award for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching.
An exceptional scientist, gifted educator, and dedicated mentor, Bonnie Aubrey exemplifies the qualities of an ideal professor. With her fascinating lectures on human immunology, as well as for her deep passion for science, she's inspired many successful undergraduates, graduates, and postgraduates. Bonnie Aubrey, on behalf of the University of Chicago, I now confer upon you the Llewellyn John and Harriet Manchester Quantrell Award for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching.
Varesh Raul, Professor, Department of Chemistry, and the College, will present the next Quantrell Award.
Scott A. Snyder is an organic chemist who designs and develops creative routes for the chemical synthesis of intricate, bioactive natural products, especially terpenes, polyphenols, and alkaloids. In addition to co-authoring the textbook used in the organic chemistry sequence, here and across the world, I should say, he is also a dedicated teacher. He has helped undergraduates master the fundamentals of organic chemistry, a subject frequently approached with no small amount of dread. Deemed a phenomenal lecturer by one student and the perfect teacher by another, he has been described so often as the best professor I have ever had in his course evaluations that it should come as no surprise that he has also co-authored a textbook for instructors at research universities titled Teach Better, Save Time, and Have More Fun. Perhaps this student says it all. Quote, in this course evaluation, strongly agree is abbreviated SA. There should be an SAS option for the man, the legend, Scott Snyder. He was the best professor I've ever had and probably will ever have. Dean Boyer, it is my honor to present Scott A. Snyder for the Llewellyn, John, and Harriet Manchester Quantrell Award for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching.
Creative organic chemist, dedicated research mentor, textbook author, acclaimed lecturer, and caring teacher, Scott A. Snyder introduces the beauty and the challenges of organic chemistry to his students through tightly crafted, inspiring lectures and helpful discussions outside the classroom. Scott Snyder, on behalf of the University of Chicago, I now confer upon you the Llewellyn John and Harriet Manchester Quantrell Award for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching.
Thank you, Dean Boyer, and thank you to the incredible professors who received the Quantrell Awards. Hello, everyone. My name is Katie Zellner. I lived in and scavenged with Snell Hitchcock. I studied biology as well as English and creative writing. And through my favorite writing classes, like knowledge journalism and the infamous Little Red Schoolhouse, I learned the importance of explaining technical information for general audiences, the difficulty of cramming a succinct and coherent argument into a tiny word count, and the nuances of balanced and honest journalism. Our speaker today is a gifted columnist who has these talents. He writes for the New York Times and is a regular commentator on PBS NewsHour, NPR's All Things Considered, and NBC's Meet the Press. He is the author of such best-selling books as Bobos in Paradise, which explores the cultural consequences of the information age and the road to character. He teaches at Yale University, serves as a member of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, and also happens to have graduated from the college at the University of Chicago in 1983. He now serves as a member on the UChicago Board of Trustees. Plus, my dad likes him. It's an honor for me today to introduce our Class Day speaker, David Brooks.
Thank you, Catherine. Say hello to your dad for me. He's one of my younger fans. Usually when a 93-year-old lady walks up to me at the airport, I know what she's going to say. It's like, I don't watch your show, but my mom really loves it. I was so honored to be invited to be the inaugural Class Day speaker, but obviously since I'm a graduate of the University of Chicago, I couldn't just accept the invitation. I had to overanalyze it. My first thought that Chicago really shouldn't have a class day. It should be a class conflict day with Marx and Engels, or a race, class, and gender day with Betty Friedan t-shirts. Then I began wondering why the University of Chicago class is asking me, of all people, to be a speaker at this big event. I remembered the major addresses of my own time here, and how intellectually rigorous they were. I remembered that freshman year, a noted philosopher gave an uplifting aims of education address called Death, Despair, Desolation, and the Futility of Human Existence. Then senior year, at commencement, our speaker was a noted biologist. I found myself tremendously inspired by his uplifting talk, The 16 Qualities of Nucleic Acid. Eventually, I realized that I'm being invited because Chicago is trying to be a normal school with a celebrity commencement speaker. But of course, they couldn't go for a big-time celebrity right off the bat. Chicago is a place where you lose your virginity slowly. So for the first Class Day speaker, they wanted someone on TV, but only on PBS. Then after everybody is acclimated to the whole outside speaker thing, they could go invite somebody big. That's when the truth came to me. I'm the University of Chicago's gateway drug to Stephen Colbert. You, the class of 2017, will have to suffer through me so that future classes can enjoy Matt Damon. That's what I call living for something larger than self. When I realized what was going on, I confessed I was tempted to do what millennials at other schools are always doing. I decided I would feel triggered and unsafe, lead a campaign to get myself disinvited. All the historical traumas of being a lower middle range celebrity came back to me. I retreated to my safe space, which is under the bar at Jimmy's. But since none of you did your generational duty and got me blocked from this gig, I've decided to go ahead. Now, Chicago is new to this game, so I should note there are certain traditions to these kinds of occasions. At occasions like this, a major university asks a person who has achieved fantastic career success to give a speech telling you that career success is not that important. At occasions like this, major universities often ask billionaires to give speeches telling you how much they learned from failure. From this, you can take away the lesson that failure seems really great if you happen to be Steve Jobs or J.K. Rowling. Then we speakers are supposed to give you a few minutes of completely garbage advice. Listen to your inner voice, be true to yourself, follow your passion, your future is limitless. First, my generation gives you a mountain of debt. Then we give you career derailing guidelines that will prevent you from ever paying it off. That's why when I'm asked to speak at these sorts of things, I always try to tell the graduates that since you've never graduated from college before, you may not know the etiquette. Tomorrow, when you get your degree, it's always nice to tip President Zimmer 10 or 20 bucks, just to show he did a good job. It's also nice to slip the class day speaker a few bills, 2,000 or 3,000, 5,000 for the econ majors. On these occasions, I always try to tell students about the glittering futures in front of them. Within just a few short years, many of you will be sleeping on your parents' couches while working for a completely dysfunctional NGO. Others of you will have soul-crushing jobs as corporate consultants, working on PowerPoint presentations past midnight at the Topeka Comfort Inn. I'm here to help you navigate these exciting possibilities. I'm here to help you take advantage of the skills you learned at the University of Chicago. You learned how to dominate classroom discussion while doing none of the reading. You learn as now to stare at your professors with looks of complete rapt attention, even though secretly you are completely asleep. I'm here to urge lives of public service, working on Capitol Hill for fine congressmen, bringing the nation's top leaders coffee and sexual tension. I'm here to urge you to serve the world's poorest peoples in ways that'll look good on your resume, organizing anti-malarial bed drives while rocking Jimmy Choos at Goldman Sachs. I'm here because as someone who now teaches at Yale, I thought you should have some sense of what it would have been like if you'd been accepted there. But ultimately, I'm not here to give you some standard speech. This is Chicago. This is the only time in my life I'll get to address the graduating class of my own school at the place that formed me down to my bones. I confess I didn't enjoy every day I spent here. I majored in history and celibacy. I learned to walk through campus while awkwardly averting my eyes to anybody I might know. But like all of you, I was changed fundamentally in this place. And the older I get, the more I become aware of how this place shaped me. I'm 34 years out from the college, and I feel more influenced by the University of Chicago today than I did on the day I graduated. So today I'd really like to talk to you about two things. The things Chicago gave me, which I've carried through life, and the things Chicago failed to give me, which I had to learn on my own. When I think back on my time here, I remember certain moments of great intensity. There was one very odd moment during my first year when I was reading a book called The Death of Tragedy by Nietzsche in a carol in the A level of the Regenstein. I don't know what it was, the driving semi-insane power of Nietzsche's thought, the overwrought or intoxicating nature of his prose, but somehow while reading that book down there in the basement, reality seemed to slip outside its bounds. I lost all sense of where I was, or who I was, or how much time was passing, or whether it was passing at all. Hours flew by, and I was just buried inside that book. I was not so much as reading it, I was immersed in the torrents of its prose and in the fury of its ideas. I was just sort of dissolved, lifted out of myself, transported, subsumed, in some sort of trance or awed reverence that's a spell cast by a semi-crazy, long-dead mind. There I was in the shabby carrel on the basement level of the ugliest building on God's green earth. And I was experiencing something close to transcendence. When I awoke from that state, I looked around, startled and blinking, shocked to re-entering the world of the 20th century and to real life. I never really became a Nietzsche fan, but it was exciting to know that the ideas of some dead genius could transport me and give me a glimmer to a higher realm. There were other intensities during my time here. There was the intense arguing with all my friends about bullshitty subjects during the dining hall, hour upon hour. There were intense pseudo-intellectual debates with graduate students at Jimmy's. There was the intensity of serious movie-going at doc films. And most of all, there was a certain intensity to class, mostly at Cobb Hall. In those days, it was pure great books for the first 2 years. And our professors didn't just teach them, they proselytized them. Some of the old German refugees from World War II were still around then, and they held the belief with a religious fervor that the magic keys to the kingdom were in these books. The mysteries of life and how to live well were there for the seizing for those who read well and thought deeply. There was a legendary professor named Karl Weintraub teaching Western Civ then. Years later, when he was nearing his death, he wrote to my classmate Carol Quillen about the experience he had teaching those books. Teaching Western Civ, Weintraub wrote, seems to confront me all too often with moments when I feel like screaming at the students. Suddenly, oh God, my dear student, why cannot you see that this matter is a real matter? Often a matter of the very being for the person, for the historical men and women you are looking at, or are supposed to be looking at. I hear the student answers and the statements that sound like mere words, mere verbal formulations to me, but that do not have the sense of pain or joy or accomplishment or worry about them if they ought to have if they were truly informed by the live problems and situations of the human being back then for whom these matters were real. The way that disembodied words of students come forth can make me cry. And the failure of the student to probe for the open wounds and such behind the text makes me increasingly furious. If I do not come to feel any love which Pericles feels for his city, how can I understand the funeral oration? If I cannot fathom anything of the power of the drive derived from thinking he has a special mission, what can I understand of Socrates? How can one grasp anything about the problem of the Galatian community without sensing in one's bones the problem of worrying about God's acceptance? Sometimes when I have spent an hour or more pouring all my enthusiasm and sensitivities into an effort to tell these stories in the fullness in which I see and experience in them, I feel drained and exhausted. I think it works on the student, but I just do not really know. It's a tragedy of teaching sometimes that the professors pour more into the class than the students are able to receive at that moment. But the truth is, with intense teaching is more like planting. Those teachers like Weintraub were inserting seeds that would burst forth years or decades later when the realities of adult life called them forth. I hated Edmund Burke when I read him here freshman year, but later he exploded in my mind and has become one of the great guides of my life. I was blandly indifferent to Augustine when I encountered him. It was only later that I understood the power of his loves, the wrestling with his own soul, and the need to be careful about what you love, because you become what you love. Chicago gave me glimpses of the mountain ranges of human existence that I had never imagined before. It gave me a set of desires, higher desires than any I had had. In the first place, I longed to know how to see. Seeing reality seems like a straightforward thing. You just look out and see the world. But anybody who is around politics or many other arenas of our public life knows how many people see the world with a distorting mirror, how many see only what they want to see, or what they can see by the filtering light of their depression, their fear, their insecurity, their narcissism. Sometimes I think the whole disaster of the Trump presidency is because of a breakdown in intellectual virtue, a breakdown in America's ability to face evidence clearly, to pay due respect to the concrete contours of reality. These intellectual virtues may seem elitist, but once a country tolerates dishonesty, incuriosity, and intellectual laziness, everything else falls apart. John Ruskin once wrote, "The more I think of it, I find this conclusion more impressed upon me, that the greatest thing a human soul ever does is to see something and to tell what it saw in a plain way. Hundreds of people can talk for one who can think, but thousands can think for one who can see." At Chicago, I encountered so many writers who could see so purely and carefully. Shakespeare, Hume, Socrates, George Eliot, George Orwell, Hannah Arendt. I met so many professors and students who could weigh evidence and who didn't tolerate intellectual shabbiness. It aroused in me a desire to have that virtue, the ability to see clearly and face unpleasant facts. Then there was the second yearning, which was the yearning to be wise. I really couldn't tell you what wisdom consists of, and I still can't really give you a concrete definition. But we all know wisdom when we see it. There's a deep humanity and gentleness and stability to a wise person. That person can perceive with love and generosity the foibles of another heart. That person can grasp the nub of any situation, see around corners, and has developed an intuitive awareness of what will go together and what will never go together. That wisdom, I imagine, comes from paying deep and loving attention to the people around you. It comes from many hours of solitary reflection. It comes from reading the greats. It comes from getting out of your own century, thinking outside your own assumptions, and embarking on a great lifelong journey toward understanding. That sort of humane wisdom was admired here. And we wouldn't have told each other this because it would have been too pretentious. But all those bullshitty dinner table conversations and bar stool conversations about the great ideas were attempts to put together the building blocks of that kind of wisdom. They were attempts to put ourselves together so we could be of use. They were attempts to imitate the penetrating insight of Hume, the smile of Voltaire, the gentle guidance of a dozen professors whose names you may or may not know. Some living, Nathan Tarkov, Joseph Stern, some of my old professors who are now dead. Third, Chicago gave me a yearning for ideals. It is sometimes said that we humans seek happiness. We seek fulfillment of our desires, but of course that's not true. Peace and happiness is great for a while, but after a bit it gets boring. What our human emotions seem to require, William James once wrote, is the sight of struggle going on. The moment the fruits are being merely eaten, things become ignoble. Sweat and effort, human nature strained to the uttermost and on the rack, yet getting through it alive, and then turning back on its success to pursue another rare and arduous journey. This is the sort of thing that inspires us. James summed it up pretty well. Human existence is the same eternal thing, some man or woman's pains in pursuit of some exalted ideal. I recently saw the movie Hidden Figures about some African-American women who served the cause of space exploration and racial justice. Those women weren't exactly happy during the movie or the story told in the movie, but there was a spiritual intensity serving their two great ideals. And that's what we want in all our lives. Intensity struggling for the good. If nothing else, Chicago and the great books presented us with the high ideals in profusion. The patriotism of Pericles, the commitment of Fermi, the American nationalism of Alexander Hamilton. I certainly wasn't smart enough to come up with my own philosophy or set my own ideals, but I could try on the different ideals passed down to us from our betters, and I could see which ones seemed to fit, and I could join their parade. They say that life here is about the life of the mind, but that's an injustice. The mind and the soul are not so easily separated. These yearnings that I've just described, which are implanted in me here, to see the world clearly, to be wise, to pursue ideals, these weren't really yearnings of the mind. They were yearnings from deeper, from the part of us that can only be called the soul. We don't talk about this much in our secular culture, but there's a part of each of us that doesn't care about Facebook likes, or annual income, or even how popular you are. This is the part of us that yearns for permanent things, for beauty, truth, justice, transcendence, and home. This is the part of us that is morally valuable, that in each of us is worthy of dignity and respect. The poet Rilke had an education like ours. He wrote, "I am learning to see. I don't know why it is, but everything penetrates more deeply into me and does not stop at the place where until now it had always used to finish. I have an inner self of which I was ignorant. Everything goes thither there now. What happens to it there, I do not know. I'll never be as deep as Rilke, but I was deeper when I left Chicago than when I arrived. And more important, I graduated from the University of Chicago with a sense of my soul and its yearnings." And there's still a lot of that goes on today. 2 Saturdays ago, my wife Ann and I got together with the philosophy professor Candace Vogler in Cobb Hall and led a seminar under the sponsorship of the Hyde Park Institute. It was a beautiful spring day, and we all spent it inside, talking about character and spiritual growth, about Aquinas, Beethoven, and Viktor Frankl. We took a lunch break, and instead of going outside to enjoy the sun, some of the students had their sandwiches inside and had an internal debate amongst themselves about the immateriality of the soul, only in Chicago. And I saw that day that this place is still wonderfully itself. I felt some of the old intensity of purpose. There is still the same honest and unironic hunger for wisdom. There is still the willingness to put your ideas out there and argue and listen. There is still that ardent searching for truth and a willingness to be silly in pursuit of it. Chicago gives you a taste for mountaineering, for climbing up toward the summits of human existence. Afterwards, you're never quite content living in the flatlands, living solely in the stuff that gets written about on Twitter or even in the newspapers or talked about on TV. Many years ago, a man named Robert Maynard Hutchins bet this institution's future on one proposition, that if you put the big ideas in front of a bunch of 20-year-olds, you can change their life forever. I can tell you it worked for me. It completely worked for me. And this change that happens in those of us who went here is a very practical change. We have a telos crisis in this country. Many people do not have a clear sense of their goals and their own purpose. They don't know what they are shooting for or what fundamental convictions should guide their behavior. They've been trained in hyper-specialized research universities that tell them how to do things, but don't ask them to think about why they should do them, that don't give them a forum to ask the questions, what is my best life? What am I called to do? Why am I here? From college, they enter the world we all live in, which is a busy world. The flow of 1,000 emails, the tasks of setting up a career and family, these things distract from the great questions of purpose and meaning. I find that many people haven't even been given a moral vocabulary to help them think these things through. They haven't been surrounded with a functional moral ecology and a set of ideals to guide and orient them. and this produces a great emotional fragility. Our friend Nietzsche said that he who has a why to live for can endure any how. But if you don't know what your purpose is, then the first failure or setback can totally throw you into a crisis and a total collapse. I see this among my former students, and I see it over and over again in people in their mid-20s. The young person without a conscious person graduates in hopes that by piling success on success, he can fill the void within. He becomes what the writer Matthias Dalsgaard calls the insecure overachiever. Such a person, Dalsgaard writes, must have no stable or solid foundation to build upon, yet nonetheless tries to build his way out of his problem. It is an impossible situation. You can't compensate for having a foundation made of quicksand by building a new story on top of it. But this person takes no notice and hopes that the problem down in the foundation won't be found out if only the construction work keeps going. But of course the reckoning always comes. It produces a crisis, depression, the sadness. David Foster Wallace noticed it back in 1996. It's more like a stomach-level sadness, he wrote. I see it in myself and my friends in different ways. It manifests itself in a kind of lostness. This is a generation that has an inheritance of absolutely nothing as far as meaningful moral values goes, he wrote. You can see the fruits of this telos crisis in the rising suicide rates, the rising drug addiction rates. You can see it in social distrust. You can see it in isolation and in the lives of people who are adrift. The fact that you went to Chicago means you will always have an orientation that is slightly different than the mainstream culture, slightly countercultural. You'll have a harder time being shallow. You may not know your life's purpose or your calling, but you know that the mountain world exists up there and that you can explore it, and that the answers can be found up there in the Museum of Beautiful Things. And that knowledge itself will be a source of great comfort and stability. Life at Chicago is not always filled with day-to-day happiness, but it gives you a glimpse of a cosmic happiness, glimpses of understanding the long story we're all involved in. And if you have cosmic joy, because you know this story is ultimately about something meaningful and holy and good, you can bear the day-to-day miseries a lot better. So that's the good side of what I got here, and what I hope you got here. Let me finish by speaking very briefly about what the University of Chicago did not give to me, and where it failed me. Now here I speak provisionally because I'm going to start talking about the school as it was in the 1980s, and a lot of the problems may have been fixed by now. It's traditional for alumni to say that the college was better in my own day. As both an alum and a trustee, I can tell you that's nonsense here. I'm here to tell you that Chicago is way better now than it was when I was here, and way better than it's ever been. But in my era, and maybe today, Chicago did not prepare its students for intimacy. As I've grown older, I've come to see that the capacity for intimacy is one of the more crucial talents for a fulfilling life. That's because the primary challenges of life are not knowledge challenges, they are motivational challenges. It's not only knowing what is good, but it being completely and passionately devoted and loving what is good. It's about passionately loving your spouse and family in a way that brings out their loveliness. It's about loving your vocation with a fierce dedication. It's about loving your community with a serving heart. It's about loving your philosophy or your God with humble fervor. A fulfilled life is moving from open options to sweet compulsions. It's about saying no to 1,000 things so you can say a few big yeses to the things you are deeply bound to. It's about loving things so much that you're willing to chain yourself down to them. The things that you chain yourself to are the things that set you free. And it's not only loving platonically, it's actually and intimately living out the day-to-day realities of your fierce love. It's intimately sharing the same bathroom, getting up every day, and writing on the same damn laptop. It's about mastering all the phases of intimacy, being open to that first enticing glance, having the energy to really learn about those people, like a person on the first date who learn how much in common and treat these things as amazing miracles. You don't like foie gras, neither do I. Amazing, we should get married. It's about having the courage to engage in the reciprocal cycle of ever greater vulnerability. It's about enduring faithfully when there's some crisis and you're not sure you believe in this relationship, this career, or this institution. It's about forgiveness for the betrayals committed against you and asking forgiveness when you have let down your friends, your profession, or your spouse. When you make an intimate connection to a spouse, a friend, a profession, a community, or a faith, you are, as Leon Wieseltier puts it, consenting to be truly known, which is an ominous prospect. And so one needs the skills of intimacy to live well in such close proximity. One needs the skill of intimacy to achieve the kind of fusion that leads to real joy. When a couple becomes one loving entity, when you and your vocation have merged into a single identity, when your love for your God or your philosophy is a complete surrender. What I'm describing here are emotional arts. They are not natural, but have to be acquired by repeated vulnerability, commitment, and experience. When I was here at Chicago, we students, by and large, did not excel at intimacy. We were artful dodgers, with a superb ability to slip out of situations at moments when deep heart-to-heart connections might come. We were in the business at age 20 or 21 of trying to make a good impression. So of course we weren't going to show the unattractive sides of ourselves, which is an absolute prerequisite for intimacy. We were busy with our work and our books and our student activities, and we told ourselves, idiotically, that we didn't have time for deep relationships. We too often approached each other shrouded in what Candace Vogler calls an edifice of thought. When confronted with uncertainty or difficulty, we tended to revert back to our strengths, which were our IQs, our thinking and talking skills. We sought to be masters of life rather than surrendering to emotions which are so much out of our control. And the university didn't help. The atmosphere at Chicago then was emotionally avoidant from the top down. Too much of life was defined by what could be discussed in the classroom, and everything else just sort of fell by the wayside. There wasn't enough dancing or drinking or any of the other activities that make diffidence possible. There wasn't enough joint physical activity. Too much emphasis was put on scholarship and professionalism, and those things were defined by a pose of detachment, specialization, critical thinking, aloofness, and the mythical belief in cool reasoning. Too much time was spent studying, which is a solitary activity. Too much of student life was oriented around the reg, and not because couples were fooling around in the stacks. I left Chicago better at reading books than at reading people. I don't know if I didn't not have the eyes to see the beauty in people who were so open-hearted they had nothing particularly interesting to say. I didn't know how to handle the deepest and scariest intimacies. I'm hoping I'm a little better now, and I've had some graduate tutors in this. Life will offer you a diminishing number of opportunities to show how smart you are. It will offer an infinite number of occasions that require kindness, mercy, grace, sensitivity, sympathy, generosity, and love. Life will require that you widen your repertoire of emotions, that you throw yourself headlong into other people, that you take the curriculum of intimacy. If you haven't mastered it yet, I ask you to turn to this task intentionally now. So I'm asking one final thing of you members of the class of 2017. Tomorrow you will graduate, and that's a great accomplishment. But before you do, I hope that tonight you will do one thing to cap your education. Go to the Regenstein with a special friend in your life. Find the spot deep in the stacks where Nietzsche's Death of Tragedy is found. But don't open the book. Take off some of your clothes and fool around. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks, for your time and insight for the class of 2017. My name is Justin Jaw, and I'm a graduating member of the Maroon Key Society and a proud member of Henderson House. I have the distinct honor today of introducing the Howell Murray Alumni Association Awards. The Howell Murray Alumni Association Award is one of the college's highest honors. This award recognizes graduating students who have made outstanding contributions to the university through co-curricular activities. The students selected as this year's Howell Murray Award winners have been recognized by peers and others on campus for extraordinary service to the college community. This is the 56th year that the university has presented the Howell Murray Alumni Association Awards. This year's awards will be presented by Max Leichman, president of the Alumni Board and a graduate of the college and the Booth School of Business. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Leichman to the podium.
Good afternoon. I understand the perils of being a speaker towards the end of the program, so I'll aspire to brevity. Earlier this year, as the president of the Alumni Board, I had the great honor of standing on the chancel at Rockefeller Chapel and welcoming the class of 2020 to the University of Chicago. And today I have the even greater honor, of standing before you and to officially congratulating you, welcoming you to the alumni community, and recognizing 16 members of your class with the Howell Murray Alumni Association Award for their outstanding contributions to engaging their classmates in the campus community. If your experience at the college was anything like mine, and based on Jake's comments, I think it has been, you all had at least one moment where you said, I've made a huge mistake by coming here. But in fact, you did not make your big mistake. I told the first years in September that they would have experiences and stories that they'd remember forever, that they'd meet members of the faculty and staff who would become lifelong friends and mentors, that they would meet classmates who would become their partners in law and business or medicine, and perhaps, like that Rob Reiner movie that came out 5 or 6 years before you were born, you might even meet your future spouse or partner here, as I did when I met my wife Julie 20 years ago. I hope that you'll walk away here tomorrow with not only your diplomas, but also having experienced some, if not all of these things, more than the readings and the labs and the papers and essays. These are the things that make me realize how valuable my UChicago educational experience was. When I tell people these days that I graduated from the college, I'm met with these responses of amazement. They say, wow, what a great school. It's incredible that you were able to go there. I hear this from colleagues at work, from neighbors, from parents of current or prospective students. And my education was great without a doubt. But I agree with David, the college of today is far better than it was in the late 1990s. We didn't have a North Campus residence hall. We didn't have centers in Paris or Delhi or Beijing. There were no UChicago Careers In programs. There were Metcalf internships. They started in my second year, and there were enough of them that you could count them on both hands for the entirety of the college. And we certainly didn't have a top 3 ranking in US News and World Report. My fellow alumni and I have the great fortune to benefit from all of these improvements in the college, but the transformation didn't happen by accident. Surely it happened in part thanks to Dean Boyer and his leadership and vision for what the college could become, but it also happened because alumni and parents and friends contributed their time and their money to hire their interns, to fund Odyssey and other scholarships, and to serve as speakers and mentors. And it also happened because of the many achievements of your class and your contemporaries in the classroom, and every bit as importantly, outside of it. If you take nothing else away from my remarks today, please take away this. Keeping the college strong and maintaining these achievements and continuing the climb to become the greatest undergraduate institution in the nation will take even more effort. The university's current campaign, Inquiry and Impact, is about continuing that climb. It involves raising a substantial amount of money for the college and the rest of the university, but for the first time in American higher education, the university's campaign also has explicit non-monetary goals. University of Chicago, first among its peers, has built into its campaign a goal to engage its alumni community. We are seeking to engage with 125,000 of our 170,000 living alumni and to further reach 1 million points of engagement during the campaign. Beginning tomorrow, you members of the class of 2017 will all join this alumni community, and we are literally counting on you to be an active member of the community and to help make the college and the university even stronger than it is today. So I ask of you today to as an alum, go to a university event like a Harper Lecture or one of the events put on by our clubs around the world. Give a charitable contribution each year, even a small one, to a part of the university that's meaningful to you, whether it's an Odyssey Scholarship, the magazine, athletics, or the arts. Help your fellow alumni or current students by serving as a reunion or club volunteer, an alumni schools committee admissions interviewer, or hiring an intern, or getting your boss to hire one. And connect with the university by keeping up online with the news on campus or participating in one of the many new online course offerings that are sponsored by the Alumni Association. There are dozens of ways to stay engaged. Find one that moves you and fits into your schedule. That's what helps keep this institution that we love strong. There are over 170,000 living alumni of this institution. They lead major corporations. They're at the forefront of science and research. They write for our nation's leading newspapers. They serve as elected members of government in Congress. You're now a part of this community. It's a community unlike any that you've ever been a part of in the past. And on behalf of the Alumni Association, we're proud to count you among our ranks. It's now my privilege to recognize members of the class of 2017 for their campus leadership by presenting the Howell Murray Alumni Association Awards. One of the college's highest honors, this award recognizes graduating seniors who have made outstanding contributions to the university through co-curricular activities. The students selected as this year's Howell Murray Award winners have been recognized by their peers or others on campus for extraordinary service to the college community. I encourage you to read their bios in the program and learn more about their expansive involvement across campus. It is my pleasure to present these awards today and welcome you to a distinguished community of more than 600 past student winners. As I call your name, please join me on stage to accept your medal from Lori Hurwitz, Executive Director of the Alumni Association. And I ask the audience to hold your applause until all the medalists have been recognized. Camille Kaur. Camille's bright, competent, and genuine leadership style has led to many opportunities in the Office of Admissions, where she has revolutionized the Student Visit Coordinator Incentive Program. Natalia Dellery. As a Quest Scholar, peer advisor, and RSO leader, Natalia has demonstrated that she can tackle any problem with a clear head and strategic thought that make her both an outstanding volunteer and a supportive peer. Anthony Downer. As the chair of the Leaders of Color Initiative, Anthony has been a catalyst for change at the Institute of Politics, working to make it more accessible and inclusive. Stephanie Green. Stephanie is being recognized for her depth and breadth of involvement in the campus community, including her roles as president of the Organization of Black Students, an involved student with the Office of Multicultural Student Affairs, and a leader in the field of public service. Valerie Gutman. We recognize Valerie's extensive involvement in service and civic engagement organizations throughout her time at UChicago, creating opportunities not only to give back herself, but for countless other students to make an impact outside of campus. Steve Hahn. This year, Steve was selected to chair the Prospective Students Advisory Board of the Admissions Office, a nod to his exceptional leadership and the high esteem with which his supervisors and his team hold him. Aaliyah Morera. We recognize Aaliyah's broad and strategic leadership style, which has not only provided Globe Med with outstanding leadership, but the countless other RSOs that Aaliyah has joined in her time here, such as the Pre-Med Students Association and the Muslim Students Association. Omar Mujahid. Omar's knack for interpersonal relationships and his ability to create sincere bonds with his peers have made him an astute and conscientious leader throughout his time working with the Muslim community at UChicago. Fatima Omar. As Muslim Student Association Community Service Chair, Fatima has served as an example for her peers in modeling the true selflessness of service through her volunteer work with the Homeless Food Run. Catherine Ordonez. A founding member and eventual vice president of Active Minds, Catherine has been a fierce advocate for the destigmatization of mental health issues on campus, building strong partnerships between Student Health and Wellness and the Active Minds Board. Maya Scheidel. Maya has brought her trademark humility to her roles as an orientation leader and student director for the Chicago Urban Experience Program, while her impact has been felt in various other leadership roles on campus, from athletics to the arts. Akanksha Shah. Akanksha is being recognized as a thoughtful leader whose partnerships and relationships connect her across campus, particularly through her work as a founding member of Maroon Tutor Match, which has paired more than 100 of her peers with young people of all ages for specialized tutoring opportunities. Ala Tina. Ala is being recognized for her selflessness and ability to step up in times when the Muslim Students Association experienced an absence of leadership, creating a sustainable plan for future leadership of the group, modeling the way to handle difficult situations with clear-headedness. Mary Claire Toohey. Mary Claire served as the team captain for the volleyball team, volunteers for peer health exchange, and works in various biolabs on campus where she has used her expertise to volunteer in the sciences to increase awareness and enthusiasm for the subject among students. Charles Woods. Chase's commitment to having a well-rounded leadership experience at the university has given him a multitude of opportunities to influence the lives of his peers and make a distinct impression on faculty and staff through his roles in the organization of Black students and the Shriver Program Fellows. Peggy Hsu. Through Peggy's involvement with the University Community Service Center and Student Government's College Council, she has combined her passion for creating strong campus community relations with her desire to voice the diverse perspectives of her peers. Congratulations again to all the Howell Murray Alumni Association winners. Let's give these exemplary students a round of applause. We all have the honor of being associated with one of the greatest universities in the world. Thank you for what you have done, class of 2017, to make it great, and for what you'll do in the years to come. And again, on behalf of the Alumni Board and the entire Alumni Associations, congratulations to the graduating class of 2017 on your achievement.
I would now like to introduce Congressman Ro Khanna, who will be speaking to the class. He is a congressman from the state of California. Welcome, Mr. Khanna.
Thank you. It's an honor to be invited for Chicago's first class day. After 6 months in Washington, D.C., I jumped at the chance to come back to campus. And it's great to follow the brilliant David Brooks and some of the fantastic student speakers who are more insightful than much of what you hear in the halls of Congress these days. At Chicago, I was taught to assume that there may be a silent student in every class who is the most thoughtful. That is actually a strange concept in today's political world. For all the critiques of politics, what I find most jarring is how loud our politics has become, how self-assured. What seems missing is self-examination, the type that David Brooks spoke about. In some sense, every generation is tasked with preserving and perfecting our democracy. There is no permanence in human affairs. Americans understand this. We understand that we cannot take for granted the institutions that check baser ambitions unless we work to uphold these institutions. We cannot assume that every voice will be respected unless we create spaces for meaningful conversation. The work of democracy has always been ongoing. But these may not just be ordinary times. It might be that we are in a moment of history which nations face but a few times, when the very character of our democracy seems at stake. The traditions and institutions that have given us common purpose seem stretched and frayed. Many are asking, do substantive arguments still matter in our politics, or are decisions guided simply by self-interest? Can we find a common language that cuts across geography, party, and race, or are we talking past each other? Has the explosion of information made us wiser or more set in our ways? The stress on our democracy is understandable. Never before has our nation had as many different faiths, and cultural traditions from across the globe. We might be the first nation in history to seek to build a common political culture with as diverse a population. At the same time, we face profound economic changes, benefiting those with certain skills and pedigrees while leaving others behind. And then there is the pace of technological change in the district in Silicon Valley that I represent. Technology is changing almost every job, and it is also changing how we learn about the world and engage in it. We are living in a time of uncertainty. At this moment, we need some quieter voices in our national debate. We need thinkers, we need listeners, we need those who have studied history enough to be skeptical about easy slogans or simple promises. We need precisely the liberal arts education that University of Chicago offers and its cultivation of students who have a decent and modest nature. The task is nothing short of helping American democracy find its footing in the modern world. So graduates, our country needs you. I hope you will engage. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you so much, Congressman Khanna. My name is Natalia Zellery. During my time here, I've had the honor of working extensively with low-income, first-generation, and undocumented students on campus. Today, I am honored to stand before you all to share the stage with such incredibly dedicated staff, students, and faculty, and to stand in front of millennials who have faced triggers and struggles in order to be here today. As the final part of our program today, Claire DeCastro, a current undergraduate who works with Firescape Films, has collected a montage of photos from our classmates to create the video that you are about to see. As we leave this university with feelings of accomplishment, hopefulness, uncertainty, nostalgia, or just that feeling of being done, these two things will remain true. One, we have memories here that will last a lifetime. Memories that brought us tears of happiness, sometimes sadness, many of laughter, and everything in between. And two, we have all undoubtedly made an impact on at least one person at this university. These photos show just that. We have made friends, fostered relationships, and built a community on campus that can never be duplicated. And now we celebrate together. Congratulations to the class of 2017, and thank you for all of the wonderful memories. Here's to many more.
All right, thanks everyone for submitting photos to that. You made it to the end. We're gonna close this up. Afternoon, my name is Sarah Starr. I'm a member of Dodd Mead House, as well as the Maroon Keys Society. Much like our UChicago journey, we've had some laughs, we maybe cried, and now it's time to give a little bit of thanks. So first, let's give another round of applause to all of the award recipients today. Like Stagg and Dudley, Quantrell, and Howell Murray Alumni Association. And now we have to thank our speakers, both David Brooks and Congressman Khanna, for tackling this new tradition, coming in. It takes a lot of bravery to do that, so thank you for your words of wisdom. We'd also like to thank our student speakers, Alex, Karen, and Liz, for your unique thoughts on what UChicago has meant to you and for what the next journey holds. And it would be remiss not to acknowledge all of the hard work and dedication that was put into planning and executing today. For the sake of brevity, I'll refer you to your programs where it names the many, many people who were involved in planning, but we would like to highlight the work done by Nicole Fazio and Dean of Students Jay Ellison for your guidance in helping us plan and execute this event. And then finally, we have to thank a man who's been here, the Dean of the College, longer than all of us graduating tomorrow have been alive. When he talks about the university, he describes it as a courageous and fearless place, a place of strong liberty and vibrant convictions, and no one really embodies this as much as the man himself, Dean Boyer. And with that, I'll turn it over for final congratulations to the class.
Assalamu alaikum, peace be with you. My name is Adat Tina, and I studied economics and statistics, and I've had the immense pleasure of working with the Muslim Students Association as we close our 25th year here at the University of Chicago. I'd like to offer a few brief remarks to close the inaugural class day. First, I'd like to remind all of our guests to please join us tonight for the traditional senior class reception and presentation of the senior class gift at the Museum of Science and Industry at 7:30 p.m. Almost 4 years ago, MSI Night during Orientation Week served as an opportunity to build relationships with our new peers. And tonight, as we bring our college experience to a close, we ask that you join us once again at the MSI in celebrating the class of 2017 and all of their many accomplishments. Next, we'd like to take an opportunity to acknowledge, of course, the graduating class of 2017. You represent a diverse range of cultures, backgrounds, academic disciplines, and thought, and despite these differences, we are bonded by the experiences we have shared here at the University of Chicago, whether they be all those late nights at the Reg or the many protests we held right here on the Quad. Thank you for all of your many contributions to the college and the university community. Finally, none of us would be here today without the enduring support and unconditional love from all of our guests. I know I myself would not be here today without my beautiful mother. So whether you're a parent, a sibling, grandparent, best friend, teacher, or mentor, thank you for all that you have done in making this moment a reality. Congratulations once again to the class of 2017, and best of luck in your continuing search for knowledge. Thank you.